ESPN has pivoted, and it's meant a lot for a lot of people around the country, and especially schools now, like us here in the Sun Belt and here at Texas State. Now when we have these fully capable control rooms, help being paid for by ESPN and the Sun Belt Conference in order to get this content out there. I was at ESPN for 6 years. I was up in Bristol for 4. Worked on professional sports, WNBA, NASCAR, but I also worked on college football. And then I moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and worked with the SEC Network. And I actually worked very closely with all the school control rooms, very similar to what's going on here in the Sun Belt, except those school control rooms, they've been doing it for a little bit longer, and they actually, ESPN will broadcast games from those school control rooms onto the linear network. I mean, ESPN's, woes as a company over the past few years have been very publicized. They've had many layoffs, many cutbacks. Part of the reason that I'm here now and not still there is cutbacks to programs and to production and things like that. And it's a tricky industry. You purchase rights to broadcast events for sometimes a decade at a time. So when you pay multiple billions of dollars to the NBA in the most lucrative, sports television contract of all time, and then all of a sudden people start cutting the cable. Every single cable bill that anybody pays, whether they watch ESPN or not, if you pay cable, $5 of your cable bill goes directly to ESPN. It's the highest in the industry. I believe the second highest is like TNT at about $1.20. So, I mean, they're making, 4 times, almost 5 times as much as these other companies are making. And when you say 20 million people have cut cable over the past 6 years, do the math real quick. That's $100 million a month ESPN isn't getting that they thought they were getting. Over the course of a year, that's $1.2 billion right there. That money that they thought they would have coming in that isn't coming in. And I give them a lot of credit for pivoting recently over the past couple years. And it's not just with this model where schools are now producing content themselves. They changed in other ways too. They do now remote broadcasts where the crew will stay in Charlotte or in Bristol or in Los Angeles or in Orlando at their home studios. And the only thing at sight at the games are the cameras. Even the commentators are sitting in a booth in Charlotte while the game is in Topeka. And now that's that's a truck they don't have to rent. That's, people they don't need to buy plane tickets to fly out there. Everybody can just do the job right from home. And so that's a way to save money. They also contract out a lot of their games now. So while the game looks like an ESPN broadcast because it has those graphics and everything, they hired a third-party production company to put it on for much less than it would cost for them to do it themselves. They're changing in many ways, and I believe, when I left the company, right about 50% of their live remote productions are either being done from a school control room, from a remote broadcast, like I talked about, where the crew is in Charlotte at the studios, or being hired out to a third-party production company. So they're finding ways to cut costs on their own because the money coming in has changed. And in order to get more people to purchase this ESPN Plus app at $4.99 a month, all of that money going directly to ESPN, in order to get people to buy those, you have to put as much content as possible on there. And they've done a really good job of that. Actually, UFC is now coming to ESPN Plus. So they got the contracts from Fox. So when people want to watch UFC, they're going to have to order ESPN Plus. And when you think about it, most people cut their cable bills anyways. Paying $4.99 a month to watch sports, any sports fan is going to do it, even your casual sports fan, let alone your hardcore sports fan.
The ESPN, we're really just kind of getting the ball rolling, and we're kind of taking it slow roll and then growing into it so that we can really hit it harder in the next couple of years. But everything that we're doing here at home at Texas State is going to be broadcasted on ESPN Plus or ESPN 3. The process to really get something on ESPN 3 or ESPN Plus at least is fairly simple. We just contact our producer and say, hey, we'd like to broadcast this game. Hey, get this game out here, and people, families and friends can all just watch that content.
This is professional grade experience that these students are getting. Like I've mentioned, several times, this is all, professional level, professional grade equipment behind me. And for students to get their hands on it, that's things that they can put on their resume, demo tapes they can put together, and they can go into the field at 21, 22 years old and have 2 to 3 years of graphics experience or of technical directing experience that most people in the industry have to wait 6, 7 years to get their hands on. I mean, it was 3 years before I was at ESPN and I ever got to touch a graphics equipment. And now you have an 18-year-old who's coming in here learning how to work it. So it's an incredible opportunity for the students.
I really feel like it's a clear, transparent step into a job literally that I can go pick up once I graduate. Like say, hey, I've worked on this equipment and this stuff and I know the system. Let me and then I feel like it'll translate immediately to the Job Corps. And I think that's amazing and it's reassuring because college is meant to prepare you for the job. And a lot of people lose that sight. And I feel like with this job at college and some of the courses, mainly this job, has been a practical teaching field on what to do and refine my craft. And it's been amazing. So I really appreciate ESPN coming out, Sunbelt, working that deal.
So with being a public relations major, I actually want to work in events and kind of pursue that event producer, event director kind of role. So I think it's really important to learn how events and like big productions like basketball games, football games work behind the scenes as well as like in front of the camera. So I think it's really important to just capture those skills in the control room as well as like talent in front of the camera.
That's what college is all about, learning and teaching each other and getting experience that matters in the real world. And for me, a student who didn't enjoy the classroom setting at all, in fact, I hated it. I couldn't wait to get out of a classroom, but I loved TV studio. I loved anytime I was working with camera, anytime I was at a game, anytime I was editing, anytime I was in a studio, I loved it. And that's what this gives to students, the hands-on opportunity to not only make a few extra bucks each month, but to also get professional grade experience that can translate to their resume and hopefully translate to a career they want.